This is part 2 of our Excel automation series. If you haven't seen part 1, check the link below to set up your user form design first. Now we'll dive into VBA logic to send emails, add attachments, and more. Let's jump into the first user form we made here. Let's code it so it works, so these buttons works, and we can get our contacts in and also attach files and messages and templates and so on. Very cool stuff. Let's get it right to it. Okay, so double tap on the user form and you see there's nothing in our user form yet, but we are in the user form, and then you have to select initialize. So this is basically when it's loading. Get rid of this and then copy these few lines in, and let me explain what it does. I just didn't want to write it out fully, but we have three things we dim here. We dim center X, center Y, and the last row. Then we're gonna do a center X and a center Y for application left and top, and plus it basically 0.5 multiplied application width and height and minus that width and height. So what it basically is, it's gonna adjust the form so it fits the screen if you're on a laptop and so on. And then we're gonna center it here with these two lines of code, top and left, so it's in the center. And these are the width and height that we set manually. I just like it to also be coded into the form. Then we have some buttons here and some labels. So basically what I want to do is I want to change the color of these buttons, and we can also set this as a default color. So let's do that. Let's start with the send, reset, and the browse. And then we'll take the label, the header label. We can just set it to the same color or something like that. This can also show you how you can set the color. So let's get started on that. We're gonna write ME. These are the elements that is in this user form. You refer to that as me.btn, and let's start with the send here. Dot back color equal RAB, and then we're going to use this color code 46 204 113. Let's copy paste this and write reset here. Write it with small and see the code corrected. I always do that. 2176 and 60. And then we have the browse. Let's change that also. Browse. Let's do 255 153 51. These are the three buttons, so we can test and have a look how it looks like here. Yeah, so we just coded this so it has these colors. Let's take the label also. We can do MELB header, back color RAB 46 204 113, and in the parentheses. So basically the same color as this. Actually, I prefer to not be the background color, but be the font color. So we can do .4 color instead. That would be nice. Yeah, instead. All right, moving on. Let's move some space here. And the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna set this frame as not visible, because we want it to only be displayed if the user click save as an email template. Then you can name the email template. But this frame with this box in is just confusing if we are not planning to save it as a template. So when the user form loads here, we need to make the frame not visible. So ME dot, and we call it frame save template dot visible equals false. So now you wouldn't be able to see it because it's not visible. And when we have coded this, the idea is that it should appear. But let's finish this code inside the user form, the initialize. So the next thing is we're going to set ws equal this workbook dot sheets settings. This is our sheet because we have email templates. That's why we're going to set this workbook equals settings, or set this ws equal this workbook sheets dot settings. And then we're going to do the last rule that we have defined up here. The last row equal ws cells ws rows dot count, and from column A. This is a very important step. Dot end excel up dot row, because this allows you to add as many email templates as you want, and the system still works no matter how many templates you have. And then we're gonna do a with CMB template here. And this is the key of writing things with small. It didn't recognize this because it's called CMB templates. You see, it corrects it here. And then we're gonna do a clear and a for. So for I from third row to last row, add item. We wanted to add item here. Worksheet from worksheet cells I1 dot value, and do an XI here, and then we're gonna end with. So what it basically is runs through all the rows from row 3 to the last row from column A in the settings sheet, and find all the email templates and add it to the combo box CMB templates. And it's gonna take it from the third column. Sorry, it's gonna take it from the third row, first column, because this is the email template name. This is what I mean. So now it has monthly report, meeting reminder, and welcome email. It doesn't populate yet because we haven't changed the code inside of this combo box. That's what we're gonna do now. So you double tap on the CMB templates, because now we're gonna make it populate the whole form with our email templates. Very cool stuff here. And you need to make sure you are in the CMB templates change, which you will be by default. And then you write this code. We're gonna dim ws as worksheet. Then we're gonna dim last row as long. Then we're gonna dim I as long. And then we're gonna dim template name as string. Then we're gonna set template name equal CMB templates dot value. We're gonna set ws equal this workbook dot sheets, and use the settings sheet again. And then we're gonna set the last row. Last row equal ws dot cells ws rows dot count, and from column A dot end XL up dot row. And then we're gonna do a loop here for I3 to a last row. If ws dot cells I from the first column, if that value equals the template name that we defined above, then we need to populate all the elements in the box, because these two things are equal to each other. So we're gonna do a text to text. That's the text box. We're going to set that WS cells I from the second column, dot value. And let's just copy this multiple times. So the next thing is CC, and that's from the third column. And then we have BCC. You can see here, BCC, the fourth column. And then you have the subject from the fifth column. And the body, basically the message in the email, from the sixth column. And then we have the attachment from the seventh column. And let's double check here. The attachment, column G, 7 column. Then we're gonna exit or and end if and do our next Y. Let's save it and test it. Let's test the form here. This still doesn't work. What does work is our email templates here. So now you can see it has the monthly report, the email reminder, and the welcome email. This is pretty cool. It's to draw all the information from this backend sheet, the settings sheet here with the email templates. And when we start adding email templates, that's also going to be very cool. It adds email templates so you can load more email templates. Let's move on here. The next thing is we want this box that we hidden when the form loads to appear when we checkbox this and make it vanish when we uncheck this. So we're going to go to Save as Email Template checkbox, double click here, and then we're going to write the following code here. If me.cb save template, if that checkbox value equals true, then we're gonna write me frame save template dot visible equals also true. Else we're gonna do, let's just copy paste this because we're gonna set it as false. And then end if. That's it, a very quick code here that performs this. So imagine you've filled this in with a new details, a new template, and you want to save it. You click here and give it a name and save it as template. And then when you have coded this, it will save it to this backend sheet and you can load it. Very cool stuff. Let's code these 3 buttons because I want to tell the system where it comes from. So the system should know which of these buttons that is clicked on, because whatever button is clicked, the contact form that we created needs to get the email addresses back to either this box, or this box, depending on if we clicked on this one, or this one. So that's why we need to tell the system, make it a signal which of these buttons that the user have clicked on. So we don't avoid clicking on 2 and then we fill in the contact form and the contact goes to the wrong, for example, BCC. There's many ways of doing that, but just wanted to do it obviously. So whenever you click this button, it resets the color to black and color the one you clicked green. Then we can, from the contact form, identify which of these buttons that is green and get that information of email addresses into the right box. So if this is green, it throws it into this box. If this is green, into this box, and so on into this box. So let's start by coding that now. So if we're gonna code this first, then we're gonna write frm email sender. That's our form. Dot cp2 dot backcolor equals rab 0, 0, 0. That's black. And basically just copy paste this, because we also needed to do it to CC and to BCC. So it sets everything to black. And then we wanted to change this to button to green, because when we click on this, we need it to be green. Let's just copy paste this and change that to 250. And then it should open the other form. So do a contact.show. That will open the other form. Let me show you how. So now when we click this one, it marks this screen. And when we have coded this one and select the emails, it knows when I click on this add and close that it should write the emails back to this one, because this button is green. All right, so let's just copy paste all this, because it's basically almost the same we should do for every button. So here, all set them to black, but because we clicked on the CC now, then it's not the 2 that it needs to be green, it's the CC. Same with the BC, copy paste here, and write BCC. Now it works for everything. You see? So that's the idea. The next thing we need to code is this browse button, because now we've coded all these 3 buttons, so it open up this form. So what we need to do is code this browse button. Let's get right into it. We have the browse button click event here. We're going to start dim fd as file dialog here. Then we're going to dim selected item as variable. Let's make it with big I. Then we're going to dim default path as string. Then we're going to set the default path equal this workbook's path. And then we're going to do a and make a backslash here. And then we're going to set the fd equal application.file dialog. Let's take this step by step. Application.file dialog here. And then we're going to do mso file dialog file picker. The first one here. And then we're going to set the fd allow multiple select and set that to true. Then we're going to do fd.title, set that equal select files to attach. And then we're going to do fd.initial file name here. I set that equal to also default path. Then we're gonna do a if statement. If fd.show equals -1, then for each selected item in fd.selected items, if txt attachment dot text equals blank. Then we need the txt attachment dot text equals selected item. Else, we're gonna do a txt attachment dot text equal txt attachment dot text and something called VB control F and selected item. And you can see the system recognize it because it changed the letters to capital letters at the beginning. And then we're gonna do an end if here and do a next selected item and end if. End if. That's it. Let's test it. And here we are testing it, what we just coded here. Let's browse. And it works. It opens up where the file is. Let's have a PDF here. Let's say the monthly report. And you see it draws the file, the whole path, and the monthly report.pdf. And we can do a, let's clear this actually. Let's do a multiple select here. Let's just select all of them. Okay. And now you can see it have attached everything. 3 PDFs. I mean, this box is a little bit small, but you get the point. It has the welcome to the team PDF, the monthly report, a meeting agenda. So it works. So now the next thing we're gonna code is the send button. Pretty cool here. So we double tap, and now we're gonna set it up so we can send emails directly from this system. I'm gonna start with some error handling to make sure if it runs into an error, it doesn't break, go to error handling. So you're also gonna learn some quick error handling here. On error, go to error handler. So it's always good to incorporate some error handling in case of the coding breaking down, running into an error. So that's what we're going to do here. So we're going to write error handler here and write message box error and error.description, comma, VB critical. Then we're going to do LBL status dot caption equal error sending email. LBL status dot for color equal VB red. So basically change the color to red if the code runs into an error. And then we're gonna do LBL status visible equal true. And put this at the end of the code. And what it basically does is it runs into an error. It comes up with a message box error and a description. What's the error? And change the label, the caption to error sending email, and change the color to red and make the label visible, this label. So it's gonna change this label to the error we just made here. The error message, error sending email. And then we're gonna put the text in between here. All right, let's test the error. Try to click send here. And it says error object required, and there's a debug. And I've figured out we're referring to LBL status. Let's debug this. And there's missing an L here. Which reminds me, always test alongside your coding project. Like do small steps at a time, because we found this mistake that there was a missing an L here, which is good. We covered that. So now when we click send here, it makes an error and it changed the text to error sending email and changed the color to red. So now the error message work. Then we're gonna write actually sending code between these two, like the error go to error handler and here between these two, because in case there's no error, we need it to send emails. We're gonna dim Outlook app as object. Let's change it for big here. Then we're gonna dim Outlook mail as object and dim file arrow as string and dim ISO. Now we're going to validate the required fields to make sure every field that needs to be sent to make sure everything is correct entered. So if txt2 text equal blank or txt subject line dot text equal blank or txt body dot text equal blank, then we need a message box and exit sub and end if. Let's do the exit sub here and end if. And then we're going to write a message box here. Message box, please fill in to subject and message. Do a VBA exclamation. So let's try that also. Please fill in to subject and message. And it doesn't go to the error handling because it didn't find an error. It just got to this if statement and then exit sub. Then we're going to set Outlook app equal create object and do a Outlook dot application and set Outlook mail equal Outlook app dot create item and set that equal 0. Set it to 0. And then we're gonna do a with Outlook mail. We're gonna set to equal txt 2 dot text. Then we're gonna set cc equal txt cc dot text. Actually, let's just copy paste this to BBC subject line body. Yeah. So the next one, BBC subject and body. So now we need to handle multiple attachments, and we're going to do that with if txt attachment dot text is not blank. Then we need the file arr equal split txt attachment dot text VB Control F. And we're going to do a for I equal L bound file R to U bound file R. Then we're going to do a if there file R I is not equal blank, then we need dot attachments dot add file R dot I, and I as the object. Then we're going to do an end if, next I, and end if. And then we're going to do the email sent dot display. So this, if you want to send the email directly, you're going to change that to dot send. But I'm not going to do that because I don't want to send emails to fake email addresses. But this is what you're going to do. You're going to change this dot display to dot send instead. And then we're going to do end with. And that's the with here we have up here. Then we're going to call log email details. A submodule we haven't coded yet. I'm just going to comment this out so we don't forget. Call log email details. So we need to code that afterwards. Then we're gonna do the LBL status caption email sent. And we're gonna do the LBL status for color RGB 0 150 0. I'm missing a comma here. Then we're gonna do LBL status dot visible equal true. So this label pops up when we send it. And then we're gonna call another module we haven't coded yet. Call btn reset. Click. That's basically the next module we're gonna code. Exit sub here, and then we have the error handling that we coded. All right, let's do a quick test here to see if it works. We can get emails here, but we haven't coded this form yet. So let's just write test at mail.com. Let's just put it all three. The subject line test, message text, attachment, the monthly report, and send. So it works. Let's moving on. Okay, the next thing is the reset button. That doesn't do anything. It doesn't reset. That's the bottom we're gonna code now. And I'm just gonna copy the full coding because it's not that technical. I just didn't want to write it. So we're just gonna set all the elements equal blank and then the command button template list index to -1 and the label as visible equals false. So that's just a quick way to do about it. You can pause it and copy the coding. That's it for the reset. And let's test it here. As always, testing is super important. Meeting reminder, clear. So what are we missing? We're missing the log thing to log emails when we send it, and this thing where you're able to save an email template. Let's start with this thing. All right, now we need to code this save template. And the way it works is this. Let me, just do a simple test here. Just so you understand what it does. Yeah, let's just have a monthly report. Test, test, test. Let's say you want to, for whatever reason, save this as a template, because there's not a test template. Then you click here, and you can call it test template. And then when you click save here, we haven't coded it yet, so nothing happens. But if you click save here, it will save this template. So you can load this template next time. I don't know why you would do that, but you can write real templates you can use over and over again. And that's how to do it. That's what we're going to do with this code. So we're going to start PM some variables here. PM WS as worksheet. And we're going to PM next row as long. And then we're going to do if me dot txt save template dot value equal blank. Then we need to display a message box and exit sub endif. So basically what it means is if we click here and we try to save something, but this is blank, it should come up with a message, hey, please give it a name or something. So we can say message box please enter a name for this template. Something like that. VB exclamation mark. So this is what it does. Try to save a template that doesn't have a name. I mean, we don't have anything here else. And we're going to handle that also. Then we're going to set WS equal this workbook dot sheets. And we're going to use the settings sheet. That's where we have the template. And next row, you set that equal WS as WS dot cells WS rows that count from column A1 dot end Excel up dot row. So it's basically last row but plus one. So we need to make sure the template we're setting is one row below last row. That makes some space. And then if next row is less than 3, then next row equal 3. So it starts below the header. Then we're going to do it with WS. We're going to do cells next row comma 1 dot value equal me dot text save template dot value. That's the template name. Now I'm going to copy paste this. To column 2, column 3. And what do we have? We have text 2 and text CC. 2 here, CC. and line it up here. Column 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're having in column 4, we have the BC, and in column 5 we have the subject, and then we have the body here, the message, I should say. So let's, we can see here, subject here, body, message here. In column 7, we have the attachment, the txt attachment. Like so. And then we're gonna do an end with. We're almost done. Then we need a message box here. Template saved successfully. VB information. Like so. And we can also make it call user form. Initialize. We're missing an underscore here. That way we call the initialize, the user form initialize, and we can see the template right here. So when we save it and go through all these steps, actually let's do it for testing. Let's say John need a mail, and we need to send it to him, and a follow-up mail on leads. Hi, John. How is it going with the new leads? Something like this. And let's say just, yeah, we can have an attachment here just to do it. Meeting agenda. Then we can write here follow-up mail. Save it. Template saved successfully. And now we have the follow-up mail here. Let's save it here, and I've saved it. It's right here. This is what we just did. We are pretty far. Let's move on. Save the workbook. And we can also call this reset button. So it resets the email. All right, the last code we need for this user form is the email log submodule. Remember when we're sending here, we had this comment out, call log email details. That's what we're gonna code right now. Just to give you some context, is this sheet that tracks every email we send with a timestamp, with a date and a time, template name. If there is any template, it could also just be a normal email we don't have from a template, then there will be no data here. And then it fills in this, all these details. Let's get right to it. We can just write it down here with a private submodule. So we're gonna write private sub log email details. Of course, important that we name it exactly how it is in the initialize. But one step at a time. We're gonna dim log sheet as worksheet. Then we're gonna dim next row as long, and we're gonna set log sheet equal this workbook dot sheets. We're gonna use the log sheet. We're gonna use the sheet called log. Let's just make this big letter here. We need to find the next empty row in that sheet to be able to track the emails. It needs to write all the emails we're sending to the next available row. So we're gonna do next row equal log sheet dot cells log sheet dot rows count, and use the first column dot end excel up dot row +1, because we want to add it below the last row. This is essentially the last row, but we want it to be +1 below last row. So that's why I call it the next row. If next row is smaller than 2, then next row should be equal to 2. Just so we write it under the header. The header is in row 1. So in case log is empty, that's what this line is for. Then we're going to do with log sheet cells next row, and use the first column dot value equals now. So that's the timestamp. Yeah, let's copy this. So row 1, row 2, 3, 4, and 5. The next one is the template. So we're gonna write CMB templates dot value. If we're selecting a template, that's what's gonna go into column number 2. Column number 3 is 2. So that's the txt 2.text. And the fourth is CC. So you can also copy this. Then there's less text we need to edit. CC. And the next thing is BC. Then we have column 6 and 7. This is the subject. And this is the body, the message of the email. And then we finally have in column 8 the attachment. All right, and then we're gonna do an end with. And as always, let's run a test. Before we run a test, it's important that we activate here the call log email details. Otherwise, it will not log it. So let's run a test here. And we're standing on the log sheet so we can see it write it to this sheet. Let's just use a template here. Send. And here we have it. And you can see it track it here in the sheet. Well, let's close that. Close this. Okay, maybe there's some formatting we need to do now. Yeah, this looks better. The timestamp 26th of April and 2:43. The month of report, the email, CC, there was no BT2, and the subject line, but the body, and there was an attachment here. So that's what we just coded. So that was the last part of the form. Let me just really quickly write a model here, call it open form. And then we're gonna do frm email sender.show. And then we're gonna insert a shape here. Call this open email form. Something like this. And right click, assign macro, open form. So now we open it directly. And I can see one mistake. I don't know if you can see it, but actually we don't want it to say email sent here. So we need to hide that. So this label is called listbox LBL status. So when we load, we need to make sure that that label is not visible. So we can do it here, me LBL status visible equal false. And now when we open it, there's no message. Nice and clean. We can do these follow-ups again. And we can do these email templates again. Send. Here it is. And let's go out of this. And we have the log file here. Now we've logged this email that we sent. All right. So that's it for the email form. We have now coded everything in that form. So what we're missing is the contact form and then do a little bit of testing. Nice work. In part 3, we'll finish the contact form and run a full end-to-end test of the automation system. Click below to continue or jump into the full playlist.